Hello. Hope you all can hear me. Laura Silva Quesada here to present a small little webinar on the power of mindfulness. So I welcome everyone here today, and I'm so happy that you're here and that you're joining me. And if you have any questions, by all means feel free to ask anything you'd like throughout the whole mindfulness workshop. Now let's just get started about the power of mindfulness. Personally, for me, I think it is one of the most important facets of self awareness, meditation, um, empowerment, personal empowerment that anyone can practice. In the Syllable method, it was very key. It's a very key factor as far as a personal development was concerned, and the raising of human consciousness, of personal consciousness was concerned. If we go back to some of the history of the Syllable method, which began back in the 40s, in the mid 1940s, that's when my father began to do his research, and he did research for about 24 years plus. And he finally brought out his findings after a lot of personal searching, a lot of personal studying, a lot of delving into the Rosicrucian movement, into Phineas Quimby's work, Mary Baker Eddy. He studied hypnosis and was a master hypnotist. He studied the psychologists of then that were very highly known: Freud, Jung, Milton Erickson, and some of the hypnotists as well. And he really delved a lot in healing and energy transfers and energy healing. So he really covered a lot of space, a lot of areas, and it was really quite remarkable the kind of research he did and the people he studied. And he focused a lot on how we could become better individuals by learning to manage our mind, our mind abilities, our human potential. And back then we call it the Silva mind control method. And a lot during, I think, maybe the late 60s, early 70s, when the whole idea and concept of someone else controlling your mind control came along with a negative connotation. Some people reacted to, oh, it's mind control kind of thing, which was nothing of the sort. It was self mind control. He had once on several occasions told me that if he hadn't called it the Silva mind control method, he would have called it the thought control method, because it's about becoming very aware and mindful of your thinking. But not only your thinking, it was more about the subjective experience. Anything that you can't see, hear, taste, touch, or smell, that you can't measure by a physical instrumentation, then we can label that as subjective in nature or spiritual in nature. So it had to do with feelings, emotions, intentions. It had to do with your thinking. It had to do with your expectations, energies like desire and belief, had to do with a lot of different things. It was really based on a present-centered awareness, because he realized that although with our mind we have so much flexibility to go into the past or into the future, we cannot have any impact on those things, on our past or future, unless we had a present-centered awareness, unless we were living in the now. And to do that, we had to be really mindful about that. Now, I know that many of you are going to be sending in some questions and some suggestions, and I just want to say hi to all of you, because I already see many of you greeting or sending greetings my way, and I thank you very much for being part of this. So again, going back to the whole concept, for us, or for me personally, mindfulness has been part of my life experience, because by the time I was born into a family that was already practicing, and a father that was already teaching mind development and the raising of human consciousness, and how to have greater human potential, how to solve more problems, create the life of your design. All these things were a very great part of his whole purpose for being. And it wasn't until a little bit later, maybe in the late 80s. Now, the Silva method came out in the mid 60s, like 1966. But it wasn't like in the maybe late 70s, early 80s, when mindfulness, the word mindfulness, took off like a whole new topic. Now, quite frankly, it was nothing ever that was very new. It's been around for like 2,500 years. It's a Buddhist practice that's been around, like I said, for several thousand years, and was the Silva method brought into light, or my father, Jose Silva, brought into light the whole practices of a practice of mind development and human evolution and human consciousness and managing your thoughts and your internal experience and connecting with that internal experience in a way that we could all understand, that was not too woo-woo in nature and was scientifically based, but yet had all the elements of what was a mindfulness practice from the Buddhist Zen traditions, and made it more popularized. But in the late 70s, where the term mindfulness got more popular, the practice was basically, again, the same thing that we had been teaching for a long, long time. And that was, being more aware and attentive as to what was going on within you, as well as what was going on outside of you. So it's that very attentive or experience that we have with our internal and external world. And that's really important to grasp, because there's great power in that. When you are very aware as to what's stirring your emotions, what's moving you one direction or another, what's bringing joy or displeasure into your life, how you begin to feel the moment you begin to feel that you're moving towards stress from a moment that you're comfortable, the times that you get maybe triggered and fear sets in, or anger begins to like boil up inside you. When you're mindful of those things, at the very point that it begins to set in, then you're aware and you're more capable of managing that anger, that stress, that emotion, that fear, that whatever it might be that's working inside of you or stirring inside you, that you're not necessarily happy having. And if you can become aware of it, and you can, then you can do something about it. If you realize that you're being triggered by certain situations, then you begin to realize anything that's being triggered obviously belongs to something past, because you can't trigger something that's right now in the present. So it's an experience of the past that's being triggered, and you immediately have moved your whole awareness, basically, or your inner states, into a past situation, a past you. You're not operating from a present centered awareness. And when you become mindful of that, then you say, hey, wait a minute. I'm not that child. I'm not that less experienced me, that older version or that younger version of me. I am a human being, an adult, educated, I've had many experiences. I have a lot of resources. I have tremendous knowledge, and I have ways to apply these skills, this knowledge and resources to solve any problem that may come my way. So we begin to realize that as long as we're aware of what's going on in our experience, both internally and externally, then we can manage those experiences with the resources that we all have. And we all have every single resource that can possibly be thought of. You just dig it out, just bring it out of you. Anytime you begin to fear anything that may come your way, then you begin to realize, oh, I just went into something more future. Because right now, if I acknowledge that I'm comfortable, everything is good in my very present moment, then what is there to be fearing as far as the future is concerned? And most things that I fear are probably not going to happen. But it takes mindfulness. It takes being aware, being conscious of your experience in order to be able to access those resources, in order to be able to connect with your skills and your talents and your wisdom and your knowledge, and apply all those things into solving a problem or managing a situation in the best way possible. So there's great power in mindfulness. It's what you begin to learn when you begin to do your first meditation during the Silva training, whether it's just to close your eyes, take a deep breath, concentrate on your breathing being deep, slow, and rhythmic, concentrate on your muscles of the body being relaxed, and then letting go, and then focusing on the thoughts that enter your mind, and maybe following that line of thought for a while and see, what does that mean to me? It's about asking questions to yourself. What do I need to do in this situation? It's about pondering what you'd like to create for your future. It's about understanding that there's a relationship between you and the greater universe, and that you are one with that greater universe. And so that's where all things come from. And when you build on that relationship with yourself and the greater universe, or the universe at large, then you begin to realize that you can create or attract or or make happen the very things that you have always desired to make happen, and truly live the life of your design. But it takes mindfulness. It takes mindfulness to do that, because it's with mindfulness that you really allow yourself to connect with your inner self and your human potential and that great power inside of you. And there's so much to be said, because again, the practice of mindfulness is going to engage so many aspects of you as an individual, and you are very multidimensional in nature. You're spiritual, yes, but you're also physical, of course. So we want to blend those two aspects of you. And then there could be so much more about you that we really want to make sure that we focus on. So to begin your practice and to begin um, building the practice of mindfulness, or to be more mindful of mindfulness, then I think it's important that we start paying attention. And that is actually what mindfulness is about. It's about paying attention to what's going on, paying attention to anything and everything. And you can do that as you eat. You can do that as you walk. You can do that when you're exercising, when you're showering. You can do that as you're gardening. You can do that as you're listening to someone tell you something about themselves as you're having a conversation. You can do that as you're doing your art. Anytime you do anything, by paying attention, you allow yourself to be more in the presence centered awareness and be in that experience, and just notice what's going on. And anytime that you feel anything stirring from one mind state or one physical state to another, and you're mindful of a shift, then you can ask yourself, what's going on in here? I use mindfulness so much when I begin to feel myself moving from being comfortable to being stressed or irritated, or annoyed about something. The moment I begin to sense that, I immediately ask myself, what's happening? Why am I moving? Why am I shifting from comfort towards stress, or whatever it might be? I don't like this feeling. And then I always recognize there's something at the very core of that that's causing that shift from comfort towards stress. And when I think about what stress is all about, stress is simply a triggering of a fight or flight response, you could say. And the fight or flight response is basically based on fear and anger, because fighting has to do with anger and fear has to do with fleeing, running away. So although the fight or flight response was a response to help us survive, through the many thousands of years of our existence as human beings, it has evolved into, from actions, fighting and fleeing, to emotions, fear and anger. So anytime I feel myself moving from comfort towards stress, I need to question, what am I angry or afraid of? Because I'm moving, I'm getting stirred. And if it's about those emotions, then we need to really be mindful of the fact that our emotions are literally at the core of a lot of our mishaps, or good things happening as well. Scientists say that almost 90% of all illnesses are due to stress. And if stress is caused by fear and anger, which are emotions, then can we say that 90% of all illnesses are due or connected to an emotional state? Maybe yes, because that's what causes, fear. I mean, that's what causes stress, anger, and/or fear. So the real question is to be mindful, and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I angry about? And when you really get to the core of that, what's causing anger and/or fear, then you begin to realize their core experiences in life. Things like maybe a sense of abandonment or rejection, or a feeling of hopelessness or helplessness, or maybe feeling like you're not in control of all things and all people. You can't control what they think, say, or do. And sometimes that can be very irritating, because you want everybody to be like you, maybe. So we are control freaks. So when we have these core experiences that have probably were experienced when we were very, very, very young, and we all have probably had them, because we as children are going to go through things that we don't understand, don't know how to discern or make sense of, don't know how to work with, because we're not old enough, mature enough, and our brain frequency is not evolved enough to be able to handle it. We're not experienced enough. So things that may seem meaningless to maybe parents or caretakers may feel like a rejection or an abandonment situation to a child. Or you may feel helpless, don't speak, say, do as I say, things like that. You might feel helpless or hopeless. And of course, you can't control situations. And then that kind of experience, core experience, gets reinforced over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually will cause some kind of a stress in our system and a deep rooted experience that may then be transformed into a belief, a limiting belief. And so when we're mindful of these things, then we say, well, gee, I can work with this. I have resources to make better things happen and be able to overcome the situations. And what can you do? Well, then if I feel myself moving from comfort to stress, and I'm mindful of that, and I am also mindful that it's triggered, I'm aware that I have evoked a younger version of me that's not equipped to handle whatever's happening to me in this moment that's causing stress in my life. And so if I acknowledge that, it's not about the adult me going through this, it's something about an older version or a young child me experience. Then I say, okay, well, what was it? Gee, right now I'm feeling a little bit like I'm lacking control of a situation, or I'm feeling a little bit of rejection. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be accepted, or that my proposal is not going to be liked by my boss, or I'm afraid that I'm going to make a fool of myself in front of people, or whatever it is. All those things have to do with rejection. And if that's the case, then I can separate myself from that. I can close my eyes, take a deep breath, and just say, relax. And at that very moment, just bring into mind what it is that you want as an outcome. So then you create a mental image of what you want the outcome to be. I want to be calm. I want to be relaxed. I want things to flow smoothly. I want to articulate my position, my proposal, my ideas clearly. I want to manage my breathing. I want to stand tall and have occasional power poses, as I'm explaining this to a boss or to a superior, whatever. And so you run it through your mind, you role play it, and you picture it first, and then you get into the experience, and for a few moments just role play it, feel it in you, own it, come to own it. And many of you already know how to use the three fingers technique, and you lock in that experience, and then you're ready. You open your eyes and you're ready to go about to override whatever it is that you are either afraid of or that's making you angry. And so that can only be done if you're mindful that you've even begun to shift from comfort towards stress. I think about things that have happened in my life, and probably yours as well, especially having gone through this pandemic. A lot of lost friends and loved ones, and never to be seen again. There's a lot of grieving that goes along with those losses, and there's a lot of trauma in some cases. With not only the loss of loved ones, but there's also loss of work, loss of money, loss of property, whatever it might be. And when we look at these things, we can dwell on these situations, on the grief, on the pain, and do this automatically, or we can be mindful of the experience of the pain, of the grief, and also at the same time extract from that lessons to be learned, new skills to have been acquired, great memories of wonderful experiences, a newfound love, a greater appreciation, a more greater connection to those that we have now around us, a building of relationships. But we can only do that if we're mindful that of the knowledge, or we're mindful of the fact that there's always lessons to be learned. There's always a better you that can come out of any situation, no matter how painful or traumatic or how great the grief or the loss may be. But if we're mindful of that and we look for that, then you will come up with some really positive ways to grow even from what was bad or a negative traumatic experience. My father used to always say that we can always transform accidents into coincidences, because we can always say, we can always look or search for the lessons to be learned and the goodness in anything that may happen. A lot of crazy things have happened in my life, in my childhood, growing up, and I've talked about it many times, with sexual abuse and as a child and things of that type. And I can either wallow in it and say, oh my God, that's horrible, and how could that happen to me? Or I could say, wow, look how strong it made me. Look how much better I'm able to portray this messages of healing to others who may have gone through the same thing. This is why I am who I am today. This is why I'm the woman that I grew to be, because of that. But I couldn't have done that unless I was mindful of the fact that there's good in everything. There's lessons to be learned. There's skills to be acquired. There's inner strength to be enhanced. And all these things can be done only if you're mindful of the experience. And it's really important that we learn to do that. And what does it take? It takes for you to be present here and now. It takes for you to notice how your body is shifting emotionally, energetically as well, in your in your thoughts, whether your thoughts are shifting from supporting you to be more negative and not being supportive. It's the whether being aware of the beliefs you hold to be true, whether they're your beliefs, whether they're resourcefully not enough, whether they open doors of opportunity or they don't. Maybe they're the beliefs that you took on from your parents because that's the way it was. And again, so all these different things that really can lead for you creating the life of your design, for you being that person that you've always dreamed to be, for you acquiring health and happiness and love and abundance can only happen if you're mindful. And then mindfulness comes with honesty as well. Are you being very clear to yourself as to the role you play in the situation, the role you're playing in the outcome that you have created? Now, again, it takes a little practice, maybe a little discipline, but it just takes paying attention to all these different things that we've been talking about. And there's a lot of different things, of course, but the experience is a whole experience. When you know that you're not feeling comfortable, when you know that you're feeling a little tense, when stress has set in, when anger and or fear show up. All these are signs of you to pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening. Don't just react. You're going to respond to whatever may be happening when you maintain a present centered awareness and when you're mindful of those little shifts. And sometimes they're very subtle, but when you're mindful of those little shifts at that moment, at that very moment, you can pause, close your eyes, question what is happening, what am I experiencing, recognize whether it's something that belongs in your past that was triggered or something that belongs in the future that you're afraid of. Then you say, okay, I've got my resources. What a resource do I utilize? And then you create an image, a visual, a scene of what you would want to experience instead. And then you would step into that you who has already experienced it successfully. And then you're able to then begin to own it. But you maintain a present centered awareness, utilizing your skills, resources, wisdom, knowledge, all these great things. And so again, if you have any questions along the way, by all means, let me know about this, okay? All right, so let me see. My wife and I would like to attend and the Syllable Method course taught by me specifically, and is that possible? Right now, I think still because of the whole situation going on, we're not doing live seminars, but we are toying with the idea of potentially doing it by next year. So let's kind of see how things begin to unfold and how things evolve, and we program that things will be a lot better. But I think that's one of the reasons also why we are offering a lot more kind of online things, online meetings and groups. Excuse me. We do have like cottage group meetings where people can join in, and we had one yesterday. And we have different topics that we talk about. It lasts about an hour. We do it like once a month. And I'll get these kind of webinars that we can discuss certain different things that we're working on and satisfy some of your questions and your needs. I think for me, more than anything else, the reason I really want to do these things are because it's important for me, even if you're a newbie or if you're a long practitioner of the Silva method or of meditation. It doesn't have to be only the Silva method, but if you have no matter what it is, for you to feel comfortable and confident with the knowledge you have and the skills that you have, and you have a greater understanding of how you can manage your inner and outer experience, and that you can create a better one if that's what you wish to do. And whatever it is that you want to create or achieve or manifest, you can. And it's going to take a certain things like desire, your belief, your expectation, your attention to it, being mindful about the situation. But you deserve to have it all. You deserve to have everything you've ever wanted. You deserve to have health and happiness and wealth and you deserve to have love and everything you possibly could ever imagine is there for you. And we just need to know how to connect with that and just allow it to enter our lives. And a lot of that has to do with, of course, what we teach in the Syllable method, but it also has to do with our ability to be mindful of our needs at that any given moment. Many of you who do practice mindfulness and you have that great awareness of your body, yourself, and your relationship to from your inner self to the outer world, you truly realize that you can catch an illness setting in right in the moment and nip it at the bud, and regain your health right away. You know that when you're talking to someone and you're mindful about the energetic relationship or connection you have with that person, the moment it begins to shift, you know how to turn it around by saying something else and being able to again regain that loving connection with your partner or whoever you're relating to. Those who practice mindfulness know that when you maybe gain a little bit of weight or when you're eating a certain amount of foods, you're mindful of the fact that you might later on today cut back a little bit on something else because you want to maintain a certain weight and a certain state of health. You're mindful of that. You're mindful that when you walk, you're going to walk with a little bit more of a pep to your walk, a little bit faster pace, a little bit more energetic movement to you, whatever you're doing, because you know that that's going to help in your exercising routine. Mindfulness plays a role in everything you do, everything, and it can enhance it, make it better, or you can leave it as is, or it can make things worse when you're not mindful. So mindfulness only will make things better for you because it allows you to, again, from this present-centered awareness, be able to access all your wonderful human potential and put it to practice. Let me see here. Mitch says, Laura, I wish to share that I find your recording so soothing. I love the rhythm and it makes it easier to go deep into meditations. Well, thank you so much, Mitch. And let me see that I also know of there are no presential courses in Mexico City. Sad, considering Mexico is Silva roots. There are courses probably in Mexico City with Dr. Rosa Rivas, and she may not do them as often as before, but I do believe she was doing courses. I talked to her on occasion. Then again, she may have taken a bit of time off because of the situation with the COVID pandemic. But by all means, I think she will be regaining doing seminars in Mexico City. And if you have a chance to attend with Rosa Rivas, she is phenomenal. She's the best instructor I know of. She's really, really great. And she does courses in English and Spanish over there, I'm sure mostly in Spanish, but yes. All right. Okay. So if you have any questions about the mindfulness approach, then just do please ask me about that. But in Mexico City, the main director of the Silva method, and you can go to Aladeh, Aladeh, I think .com, and you will find her there. Dr. Rosa Argentinas Rivas, Rivas, and she's got recordings. She has radio shows and Radio Central. I believe she still has those. She's got books, award-winning books as well. You will find her. Okay, Rosa Rivas. Yes. Okay. So someone, Kiana says that she's new to Silva and would like a review of Caseworking. Specifically, as well, would be the possible on forum. Okay. Caseworking. Caseworking is one of those tools that we have, the Silva method, probably the best tool that we have to be able to develop your intuition and to be able to get feedback right away. When we talk about case working, and again, that's a very highly mindful experience. We're talking about a practice where you are going to have a project or a problem situation. It could be of any kind. It could be a business. It could be maybe you have a sick pet. It could be with your plants, and it could be obviously with people who have health issues or have problematic situations. And you, from a loving heart and a desire to help with the intention of maybe participating in the healing process, you from a distance are going to either scan that person or that animal, that plant, the situation, the business, scan it with your mind, with your intelligence from the present-centered awareness state, and you're going to sense whatever first comes to mind. what could potentially be the problem and the cause of that problem. Because once you scan and you sense information that could be problematic, then you have the ability to correct that problem. So once you're made aware of a problem, our goal as human beings needs to be that of solving problems, making things better. And as you perceive information as to how to solve that problem, then you're able to apply it from a distance. Most of the time, we're doing case working at a distance. And sometimes we'll be able to get feedback. You get the feedback from the person or maybe your pet or whatever it is. You'll get feedback. That means you'll get some kind of response that will let you know, gee, it worked. I'm feeling better. The person's feeling better, whatever it may be, or things are the same or they're not getting better. And so then you can change maybe your sending of energy or the correction phase that you're going through. But case working is a tool that we have in the Silva method that you get to towards the very end of the Silva intuition training, which is at the very end of the course. And the course is divided, as you will know, into 2 weekends. It used to be divided into 4 segments. The first segment was called Control Relaxation, which is the first day. The second day was called General Self-Improvement, because that's where you got all of your formula type techniques, most all of them. The first day you learn how to go into your internal state and how to relax, how to deepen, and how to begin to manage your thinking, how to manage your brain frequency. You learn how to be able to have inner self-controls, how to be stronger of mind, and then be able to deepen your inner states as well. And then you're able to start applying that to simple things like going to sleep, without taking drugs and waking up without an alarm clock and things of that sort. But when you get to the second day with general self-improvement, then you learn problem-solving techniques. And so then you're able to really begin to put your mind into practice a lot better through dynamic meditation, using visualization, imagination, and the energies of desire, belief, and expectancy. All these things that come together in order to have more effective results with your programming. You're able to, go through the problem situation and then resolve it by creating an outcome that you desire instead. Those first 2 days is what became the Silva Life System course. Then when you got into a third day, that was called Effective Sensory Projection. That was the training that you go through in Silva Intuition training. That's the second 2 days for Silva Intuition training, where you learn to educate yourself as to how to interpret and discern information that you're perceiving with your mind senses. All that takes extreme mindfulness. Now you can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell with your mind. And the wonderful thing is that you have no barriers of time or space. With your mind, you can go into the past and experience, re-experience, and heal a childhood experience, a traumatic event. With your mind, and mindfulness, you can resolve issues of your past. With your mind, you can go into your future and you're able to create the life of your design and step into that you already living it and experience it fully and completely with all of your senses as if it has already happened, and allow your body, brain, mind, soul to own it so that you can create it. With your mind, you can learn how to go into the microcosms, into the subatomic particle level, atomic, molecular, cellular, into the tissue, organ, into the systems of your body. And you can heal every step of the way along the way and get information. And you might find that, here's the problem. It's in my DNA. It's in my genetic expression. Let me fix that from this point, from this perspective, using your mind. Or you can go into the macrocosms. You can go out into space and go farther out into the universe and also experience your oneness with all else that is. So with your mind senses, you can go forward or backward in time, or you can go into the microcosm or macrocosm. But you also need to interpret what you're experiencing. I mean, any one of us can have ideas coming into our mind and images and visions and all kinds of things, but what do they mean? So this is where you learn how to interpret what you're experiencing. And as you learn how to interpret what you're experiencing, you're developing more and more of your intuition, your ability to get information from wherever information may be and apply that information to solve problems. And the more problems you solve, the more successful you become through time. and success breeds more success. Now, this part of the Silva training, which is called effective sensory projection, has to do with that, projecting your mind and your mind senses into different levels and depths of matter, inanimate matter and animate matter. And we culminate that training, that way for you to learn how to interpret what you're sensing with your mind. We culminate that training with caseworking. In the Silva method, we mostly, not specifically or strictly, but we mostly use the case working to work on humans. And the reason for that my father always wanted to work with human beings was because human beings radiate greater energy because they have so much energy. They have the layers of subatomic particles, atoms, molecules, cells, organs, tissues, and of course, the whole system. And of course, they have an intelligence that we can relate to more effectively. Unlike an animal who has biological intelligence, that we also have, they don't quite have the human intelligence that we have. And so, although it's easy to relate to animals, especially if you're an animal lover, then of course you're going to have a great rapport with them. And of course, animals radiate more energy in that sense than maybe a plant would that has only subatomic particles, atoms, molecules, and cells, which we also have, and animals also have. And plants radiate more energy than inanimate matter, which is only subatomic particles, atoms, and molecules. That's it. So again, we also have that, and plants have that, animals have that, and of course, because we have all of those things, all the different layers and levels and depths of all existence, then we have a better ability to have rapport with all matter that exists in the universe, sense when there's a problem, and with a sincere desire to solve that problem, project some healing or some image of it getting better. And when we solve the problem and to make things better, that's what we do in case working. So I know I gave you a long explanation, but I hope that kind of helps understand how it's a very mindful experience. And it's one that when you do it from your heart with great intention of helping to solve a problem, the outcomes are always, I would say, almost always going to be very, very positive. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let me see. Okay, great. Thank you very much for all your wonderful greetings and blessings. I really appreciate that. So, if you have any idea or question about mindfulness and how it's so important that we begin to pay attention to what we're experiencing, pay attention to what's stirring inside you, pay attention to whatever it is that calls your attention to that, because that's what mindfulness is all about. And enjoy the experience of being able to access your human potential, your resources and skills to be applied for problem solving. Because really that's what we're here for. We're here to create a wonderful, joyful life. That's what we deserve to have, a wonderful, joyful life. And when we are mindful of that, then we're able to create that life because that's what you deserve. That's why you were born to live this life. Today when I was running, I was just thinking, I was giving gratitude, and I express a lot of gratitude as I run and I exercise, and I'm outside and I'm looking at this beautiful sky and this wonderful big trees that I run through, and just the freshness of the early morning. It's just so wonderful. And I suddenly had a thought of giving gratitude, to the universe to allowing me to have this wonderful vacation on Earth, as far as long as it may last. Let's hope it lasts a good time, either way, or a long time. But I just felt like I was having this great vacation on Earth. And I had never quite thought that thought before in that way. I always had gratitude, but all of a sudden it seemed like this is a great pit stop here for me. I don't know where I'm going next, but this is a really great place to be. And it's great because you make it that way, because you see it like that way, because you have a choice in how you think. You have a choice in how you behave and what you do. You have a choice in what you believe. And when you make the right choice, you get the rewards for those right choices. And so I just want you to be mindful of that. Be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful of your beliefs. Be mindful of your actions. Those are the easiest things to manage. And when you do manage them and you make them better, it will turn your life around. So your thoughts need to be positive. And I don't mean naively positive. I mean, you make a choice. We know there's challenges in the world. We know there's suffering and grieving going on. We know there's all kinds of upheaval and things of that nature. But if you really think about it this moment, maybe it's costing you a little bit more to live. Maybe it's been a little bit more sad in certain situations. But when you're mindful of what you still have and you give gratitude to the things that you do have, and you're mindful of these things, you're able to change your thinking about it. And when you choose to think a certain way, knowingly choose to think a certain way and put your focus on things that you can control, on things that you can impact, and things that you can make better, then you're going to find your life get a little bit better, even in times of hardship, even in times of grief, even in times of renewal. And when your beliefs are bringing you what you want, and you're mindful that you want this something, you want health, or you want love, or you want abundance, or you want happiness, but you don't have it, and you're mindful of that, then you become more aware that you're in control of your beliefs. You can change them, you can turn them around, and you can create beliefs, more resourceful beliefs that will open doors of opportunity. And when you're mindful about your actions, the actions that you're taking, how they work against you, and you correct those actions, and that's a lot of stuff in your life. I mean, that's anything and everything with how you speak to others, whether you respect them or not, whether you go to bed early or not, what you eat, whether you exercise or not, all these things, whether you show up to work on time, whether you're even working, whether you're whatever, a lot of your actions, when you're mindful of them either working for you or working against you, then by choice, you can correct them. So everything around the things that you can have the greatest control of, your thoughts, beliefs, and actions, you're in charge of, and you can make them better. And when you make them better, you're going to make your life better. We're all vibrations. We're all just vibrating entities, because when you take it to the fact, taking the fact that we are all of us, everything, and all of us right now here present, have at our very core atoms that are just simply vibrating energy, vibrating protons and neutrons, subatomic particles that vibrate. That vibration is a very core of who we are. So we're vibratory in nature. And when you think good thoughts and you have good beliefs and you do good actions, your vibrations go up. They get enhanced. You have a higher vibration, and you tend to attract the things that you are resonating with the most. If you have low vibration inside you because your thoughts are dull and negative, and your beliefs are sabotaging your living experience, and your actions are not helping you, and that's a low vibration, then you're going to resonate and attract more of that low vibration kind of situation. So change your thoughts. You're in control of them. Create better beliefs. You're in control of them. Go and take better actions. Help others. You're in control of that, and you will change your life. But you got to be mindful of that. And everything that you're mindful of, you will make better. Let me see here. Before we go, is there anything that we need to look at? It says, how do you recommend being mindful and quickly get into a positive mindset if it becomes stressful at work or dealing with negative people that have their own agendas? I mean, there's like several things you're talking about here, Robert. And the thing is, one of the first things I would just say right away to get into a positive mindset is to think about something positive. You know, that's it. One of the easiest things to do that is to think about something positive. And you also need to release others. You have to remember, you cannot control what people think, say, or do, but you can control what you think, say, and do. And if you respect that about others, whether or not they respect it in you, eventually you'll begin to release them, and you'll be released from that whole thing. So people can be negative. They have every right to be negative. People have agendas. They have them all the time. But what you stay focused with your agenda, with what you want to achieve, you do your good work, you keep your good nature, you keep thinking about positive things, focus on those things that you love and enjoy in your life, express your gratitude at all times, and maintain a positive state at all times. And remember, if you don't like that and you can, quit. I'm not saying I know it might not be easy to do that, but yeah, you might just want to get away from that type of work environment and start programming for better work environments. I think there's a lot of jobs out there today. And so I think you might have choice. You might even be able to have a lot greater choice in this work environment that we live in today because there's a lot of jobs available, it seems. Not sure if you're here or where you are, but think about it from that perspective as well. How do you recommend being mindful and quickly get? Okay, that's it. And then, can you please suggest any books or content for daily or nightly practice for kids, specifically 13 years of age and older? I don't have anything that pops out on the top of my mind right now. And my children are all grown up. And so I haven't really spent a lot of time looking for teenage kind of books, but I'm sure there's a lot of them. But I think anyone who's a teenager, 13 or even 10 years old, and they're reading, they're old enough to understand a lot of concepts. I think one that I really enjoy that I kind of share with you a little bit is the Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. I like that. I think also I think about my 15-year-old granddaughter or 16-year-old granddaughter, and she likes to wake up late every day. And I always feel I wake up like early. I like to wake up about 5:30 in the morning. And she's one she can linger on. Although she's a great student, she does really good at school. But on weekends, I mean, she'll stay in. So I recommended to her the 5 a.m. Club, which is another book, and it has a lot of lessons in there, and that may be something that they might also look into. So there's a lot of things that are going out there. If I look into my Kindle, I'll probably find a lot of different things to work with as well. But what I do, I usually go and look up books, and I start to see what resonates with me and what might be okay with my child. Um, Believe it and receive it is another one. Let me see. There's there's just so many. A book about habits, the Power of Habit, which I think is really good. I think that's also one. Meditation and Mindfulness, that's another book that you might want to recommend. So there's a lot of stuff out there. So there's no lack of information, even for teenagers and preteens. Um, I'm glad that you're on vacation with me too, Barb. Okay, I'm listening and following the guided long meditation, but it seems that I am not really even reaching the alpha state of mind. How can I make this work for me? There's no feeling associated with alpha, but let's remember one thing, that if you close your eyes, take a deep breath, relax your body, and focus on the internal experience through imagery, you are more than likely functioning at alpha. Alpha is a light, wakeful state. It's a very, very easy frequency to enter. It takes no effort or very little effort to enter alpha. It's some people say just close your eyes and you're there. So again, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it right, and you're doing it just fine. Let me see. Um, where's that question here? And you're making it work. So trust that you're making it work. And what people sometimes expect to feel or experience is something very, very deep, very, very profound. And alpha is not that. So alpha is a light, wakeful stage, especially when you bring in imagery and then you bring in desire, belief, expectancy, emotions, and you get into the experience. It's a very dynamic, very active state. So what you're expecting, if you want that deep inner state, then you have to do deeper breathing, more rhythmic, and just concentrate on going deeper and deeper within, deeper and deeper within. Like how you feel when you do a long relaxation and you listen to it and you really, really let yourself go and you think like, wow, I don't remember what happened. That's more that profound sensation, but that's more associated to theta. So again, you're doing it right. Just trust that you are doing it right and it is working for you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Donna. Mavic, do you do a one-on-one sessions? I don't really, because these days it's a little bit challenging for me to separate that kind of time to do one-on-one sessions. But if you really practice what you're learning and you practice the things that we share with you, you're going to find that state in you where you say, I got this, I'm in control of this, because you're practicing. You know what leads to what. You know what kind of thinking, what kind of beliefs, and what kind of action leads to positive outcome. You know what kind of mind states. You're mindful of the kind of mind state that leads to positive action or positive outcomes. And you get into a flow after that because you already know it. And if you're practicing enough, you're making it a lifestyle. And so it's a lifestyle that we want to have. I typically will meditate going into sleep, and I wake up during the night sometimes, 3:30, 4 sometimes, but usually around 3:30. And when I wake up, I go back into my meditation and I do my programming then. And I also do sending of healing energy to people who maybe are needing the healing energy. And then in the morning, I'll have like a brief kind of run through, and I think about my day and I open my eyes. I think about my dreams because I dream a lot. And then I get up and out of bed. During the day, I don't always go into my meditation, but I not in that formal manner, like 3 to 1, 10 to 1 deepening, but I do mini booster meditations where I just kind of close my eyes and I tune in and I just kind of connect with this present centered awareness and just make a little check, give a little gratitude, and open my eyes. And or I do that as I need information to solve a problem. So the way you saw me do it right now, that took maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe, that's how I do it all day long. And so I'm always expressing gratitude and I'm always enjoying those real mini booster type meditations. All right, let me see. I think we kind of covered it here. Well, good. I'm very happy that you all were able to make it. I'm excited that you came, and I'm hoping that we can do this again very soon and we'll pick another topic and just be on the lookout. We have all kinds of great products and a lot of wonderful things that we're constantly bringing forth. In fact, I think we have a new product coming up very, very soon. And it's basically has to do with mindfulness. So be on the lookout because you're going to find that it's going to be something that you can utilize now. I was asked yesterday, actually, just yesterday, we had some company in from out of town if I had considered doing a product on the whole thing having to do with the pandemic and the people are going through. And I kind of just said, I did start one and I probably like 3/4 of the way done, but then I myself felt a little bit like enough with this COVID pandemic thing, and let me work mostly with some of the root elements that we can work with, and what were the results? Were maybe trauma and grief, and perhaps losses and fear and things of that nature. So I thought, what would be the best way to work with those situations instead of having to like drill again and see more images of COVID and pandemic and all that kind of stuff. So it came up with a tool that had to do with being more mindful of your living experience, along with some new meditations that we're going to be sharing. And I think you'll enjoy that. So I hope that you tune in for that. Okay. But whatever you all need and want, we're here to help. So, drop us a line, write to us, tell us what you'd like for us to create a product on or talk about more of, and log on to see as well when we have our next cottage group meeting for Silva practitioners, and we always have a lot of fun there, and it's a loaded kind of a situation, kind of like this. We have a lot of information, share a lot of ways of applying the tools, and get more and more confident every day with your human potential and your ability to create the life of your design. So love you guys, thank you for showing up. I really enjoyed being here for you today, and I look forward to us getting together again in the future. And hopefully, we'll meet live someday soon, okay? It's programmed for that. I think it will happen. All right. See you guys. Thank you very, very, very much.